When John Mahama assumed the presidency in 2012, Ghana's northern savannah stood as both a promise and a problem, a vast land full of potential but starved of opportunity. To change that story, the government created a Savannah Accelerated Development Authority, known simply as SADA. Its purpose was clear: to bridge the economic gap between the north and the south through bold, religion-specific development projects. There was hope, there was founding. There were even slogans about transformation.
The Savannah Accelerated Development Authority, SADA.
Among the projects launched, one stood out: the Guinea Fowl Project. The idea sounded brilliant on paper: rear thousands of guinea fowls, create jobs, expand trade into poultry products, and eventually export birds to neighboring West African markets. It was to be a symbol of modern agricultural innovation in the north, a model of sustainable development. But within months, that symbol of hope will turn into one of Ghana's most infamous scandals.
Not only tell him, but perhaps tell the audience really who are listening about what he calls SADA.
Yeah.
What is SADA and what are you doing about it?
Let me explain how SADA came about. There's a historical imbalance in development between the north and the south of the country, and it developed historically. Western education came from the south, and so education spread in the south, but the north was largely illiterate.
Came from Cape Coast. Basically.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And under the British colonial government, they had a deliberate policy of keeping education out of the north because they said northerners were strong and could work in the mines and on the cocoa farms.
Security forces.
And they made very good policemen and soldiers. And so that is what
sounds like Uganda.
That is what northerners were used for mostly.
Like Nigeria.
Yeah. And so it wasn't until a much later stage that education came to the north. Apart from that, we have imbalances in terms of natural resources and so on and so forth. Now, if you have a country that is that imbalanced in terms of development, it doesn't make for a proper forward movement. We're seeing strong migration from the north to the south of people seeking economic opportunity.
Right.
So government's thinking was, why don't we create a new growth pole in the north with economic opportunity so that the people there can also aspire to something, and even create a situation where we can have reverse migration of people coming from the south to the north. The north has a comparative advantage in agriculture and agribusiness. It's got wide fertile lands. All the tributaries of the Volta crisscross the north.
I've been there. I've been to Tamale.
You can do a lot of irrigation and all that. So we conceptualized SADA. It's called the Savannah Accelerated Development Authority. Now the mistake people make is they think SADA is an event. We come, we dance, we party, close.
An incident.
SADA is a process. And we envision that it will take a 20-year period to achieve the full objectives of what we envision.
The project was awarded to Asoktomba Cottage Industries and Exchange Program, owned by Roland Agambra, a man seen as close to the Mahama administration. Over 15 million Ghana cedis were released for the project. The target: to breed and manage 40,000 guinea fowls across the northern, upper east and upper west regions. There were to be hatcheries, training centers and markets for small-scale farmers. But when journalists, auditors and parliamentary committees tried to trace the outcome of the project, they found nothing close to what was promised. Most of the farms were empty, records were incomplete, and thousands of guinea fowls could not be accounted for. When pressed for an explanation, one SADA official made a statement that would haunt Ghanaian politics for years: the guinea fowls flew to Burkina Faso. That one line summed everything wrong with public accountability. A statement so absurd that it was funny, yet so serious that it revealed the depth of a systematic corruption. But here's where the story collapsed under the weight of science itself. Guinea fowls are not migratory birds. They belong to the family Numididae and are classified as terrestrial birds, meaning they spend most of their time on ground. Unlike geese, stork or swallows, guinea fowls do not travel long distance or change locations with seasons. Their wings are short, rounded and are built for quick escapes, not endurance. A full-grown guinea fowl can only fly for a few seconds at a time, covering a distance of no more than 50 to 100 meters before needing to land again. Their strongest instinct is to run, not to fly. In fact, when startled, they prefer sprinting rather than taking to the air. Now, consider this. From Tamale in the northern Ghana to Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso, the two closest points between the two countries, the distance is roughly 230 kilometers by land, and even in a straight line, about 170 kilometers of open savanna, dry plains, rivers, and bushland separate the two. Scientifically, that journey would be impossible for a guinea fowl, not only because of their limited flight range, but also because they are highly terrestrial and depend on human care when domesticated. They feed near their nest, return to the same roost every night, and rarely move more than a few hundred meters from where they were raised. Even if they somehow attempted such a journey, the birds would die from exhaustion, fall prey to predators, or simply wander aimlessly in search of food and water long before reaching the Burkina border. So biologically, physically, and geographically, the idea that thousands of guinea fowls flew to Burkina Faso is beyond impossible. Even John Mahama said it himself, and that's the deeper irony. The excuse wasn't just false, it defied nature itself. Because what really took flight wasn't the birds, it was the fowls meant to rear them. Money meant for farmers, for hatcheries, for livelihoods, gone, scattered like feathers in the wind. The guinea fowls didn't migrate, corruption did. And in that one absurd sentence, they flew to Burkina Faso. A nation's pain was reduced to a punchline. It was no longer just agricultural scandal. It was scientific impossibility dressed as political comedy.
Unfortunately, the project ran into issues. The media criticized it, and they came and said the guinea fowls had flown to Burkina Faso. No guinea fowls flew to Burkina Faso. Guinea fowls are not migratory birds, and the project was not for you to come and see thousands of guinea fowls in one place. It was supposed to incubate the eggs and give the guinea fowl day-old chicks to the farmers. And so somebody came and asked, he says he asked the watchman, where are the guinea fowls? And the watchman said, oh, they go Burkina Faso, they go come the rainy season, they go come back. And then it took a life of its own. The media went and published it. And up to now, there are people who believe that there were some guinea fowls that flew to Burkina Faso, you know. So that project died. But I think it's a project we can look at again.
By 2015, the government could no longer defend SADA. Its board was dissolved and its activities suspended. And when a new administration came to power in 2017, the NPP administration, SADA was formally replaced by the Northern Development Authority, NDA, created under a new law with promises of transparency and reform. The NDA was meant to be a fresh start, an agency that will finally fulfill SADA's failed dream. But even the NDA will later face its own controversies with procurement irregularities and alleged mismanagement surfacing again. The cycle had repeated itself. Different name, same story.